Welcome back for one more ATS today. We are going to work on the second sentence I sent, which is a little bit longer and a little bit more involved, but still a lot of fun. So I hope you gave it a try. So if you haven't yet, go ahead and give it a try. See if you can come up with something related to what I did, or get as far as you can and then come back to the video for any other questions you have. The sentence is, the exciting game to have is checkers, which is my favorite game to play, yet I thoroughly enjoy a rousing game of backgammon. So to start off with, we need to figure out our structure. So do we have any fanboys? Yes, we do. Yet. For and nor, but, or, yet, so. Do we have any who, which, or www.asia.web? Yes, we do. We have a which. That is a relative pronoun, and we are going to label that when we get to the question confirmation. Since we have a fanboys and a who, which, this is going to be a compound complex sentence. So we need to identify our independent clauses. Since it is compound, we will have two independent clauses. The first one, which I hope you underline once, is the exciting game to have is checkers. The second independent clause is I thoroughly enjoy a rousing game of backgammon. They are connected by a coordinating conjunction, so those are two independent clauses. We know we also have a dependent clause because of the which is my favorite game to play. Finally, before we get started on our question confirmation, we need to identify any prepositional phrases. You may look at to have and think, oh, preposition, but to plus a verb, have, is actually an infinitive. So if you want to mark that for yourself to remind yourself, that's an infinitive. We have the same thing happen down here, to play. We might think to, that's a prepositional phrase, but it's to plus a verb. So that is another infinitive. We do actually have a prepositional phrase, though, at the very end of backgammon. Okay, so let's get started with our first independent clause. The exciting game to have is checkers. Who or what is this clause about? Game. Subject, noun. What is being said about game? Is. Don't be fooled by the infinitive there. It is. Verb. Game is who or what? Checkers. Does checkers rename or describe game? Does game equal checkers? Yes. So checkers is a predicate nominative, making the verb linking. Which game is it? The exciting game. This is an adjective, and I hope you identify that ing, making it a participle. So we will have to diagram that a little bit differently. The, which game? The game. And what kind of game? The one to have. In this case, our infinitive is working as an adjective describing game. So it will hang off game in our diagram. Let's do the second independent clause, and then we'll come back to the dependent clause. I thoroughly enjoy a rousing game of backgammon. So, who or what is this about? I, subject pronoun. What is being said about I? Enjoy. Verb. I enjoy who or what? Game. Does game rename or describe I? Does I equal game? No. So game is the direct object. Enjoy is the verb transitive. How do I enjoy it? Thoroughly. So that's an adverb describing enjoy. What kind of game? Rousing. So that's an adjective, and hopefully again you're noticing the ing there, letting us know that is a participle. So we will need to diagram that on the ing sling. Which game? A game. Of backgammon we have is preposition of. Backgammon is our object of the preposition. And this whole thing is going to be adjectival or adverbial? It would be adjectival. What kind of game? The game of backgammon. It is giving us more information, modifying game. Finally, our dependent clause, which is my favorite game to play. Who or what is this clause about? which. Remember who, which. They're relative pronouns. They will be the subject. So subject pronoun. What is being said about which? Is. Verb. Which is who or what? Game. Does game rename or describe which? We have to think about what which is referring to in this sentence. Which is referring to checkers. Does checkers equal game? Yes. So game is a predicate nominative again, describing which. So what kind of game? It's my favorite game. Whose game? My game. Those are both adjectives describing game. And what kind of game is it? The one to play. So to play, our infinitive here is another adjective describing game. So let's take a look at how to diagram this. So the exciting game to have is checkers. So we're going to start with that because that's our first independent clause. We're going to be taking the whole paper here. Game is checkers. And I'm going to just do the pattern first. And remember, we have a slanted line there because checkers is renaming game. We have over here some adjectives describing game. So we put those underneath. The exciting is going to be on a sling. To excite is the verb. So exciting is the participle. Game to have is checkers. And the game is to have. To have is our infinitive, but remember if it's an adjective, it's modifying and hanging down, then we're going to just do it. It's going to just look like a preposition. To have. Right? You will see sometimes people do it like this and then do the little stilt on the preposition and write to have here. That's typically not preferred. It's usually preferred if it's hanging down just to go ahead and put it on the lines. The exciting game to have is checkers. We're going to do the second independent clause here, and I'm going to leave some space because we have that dependent clause to fit in there. I thoroughly enjoy a rousing game of backgammon. So we have a subject, verb transitive, direct object as my pattern. Subject, verb transitive, direct object. I enjoy game. How do I enjoy it? Thoroughly. And rousing is a participle, so it needs a sling. Of backgammon is our actual prepositional phrase. I'm going to run out of space on my paper, so just pretend that says backgammon. We are going to connect these two by a stair step, verb to verb, and our fanboys goes on there. Finally, I have my dependent clause, which is my favorite game. A who, which clause is adjectival, describing a noun. In this case, it's describing checkers. Checkers, which is my favorite game to play. So it's going to connect to checkers. So I'm going to actually then put it over here. And we have which is and game. We have the angled line because game is renaming which. Which is my, comes off of game, favorite, and I'm going to run out of space again. To play is our infinitive, and again, it's going to end up looking like a prepositional phrase when it's hanging down like that. And I'm going to connect these with a dotted line from to the noun that it describes. Checkers. All right, so I'm sorry it's a little bit messy, but hopefully you could understand what I was doing there. If you have any questions, let me know.